Good morning, family and friends. Welcome back to another daily scuttlebutt with IFF, or Ivy's Family Factotum. So, doing something new today. Still drinking coffee, though. So, since our intranets is so slow out of the house and the kiddo is homeschooled, all of that bandwidth that we have really needs to go towards her lessons for mom's computer. Because here lately, whenever I've been doing a recording for this, I'll go home and then I will upload that to the computer and then let that upload. And then while that's uploading, I go to the property or I go do things I need to do, to get out a video. Well, I know a lot of our videos shows more of me than it does Ivy's family, right? So we are trying to get, the schedule and stuff worked out. I know it'll be a little easier once we are actually on the property ourselves, like our property, because I won't have to take the kiddo to school. She'll be able to ride the bus. So I know that will change the dynamic a little bit. It'll be a little, I guess, easier on our part. So at that point, hopefully in the mornings we can sit down and do the scuttlebutt together. And then once that's done, then she can start the lessons, the homeschooling lessons with the little one. And then I can go do, start getting stuff done for the day, because Gladys can't really help out on the property or can't help out with projects on the property until she's done doing the lessons with the little one. So, because she is not able to just click through and do that on her own. Because I know, like, some homeschooled kids, they're able to just, pick up their lessons, do the lessons they need to do, and then they're done. Right? They're able to do that themselves, or have just like really small, influence, I guess, from their parents or from an elder sibling and such that are also homeschooled. So, they have that help available, but they don't always need it constantly. So having an autistic child, right, she's not going to just sit down and do her lessons by herself. She just, her whole life is play. Wake up, play. Play. Eat at some point whenever she gets hungry. Play. I'm telling you, this child wants to play so much that she is actually almost pottied herself. Like when we were doing potty training and stuff like that when she was younger, it was horrible because she would rather play and pee herself knowing that she was wearing a diaper than to stop playing to go use the restroom. And same thing with the other one, with number 2. She wouldn't care. She would sit in it all day just so she could play. And it was disgusting. But that has changed. But she still gets to the point where she will hold it until she's about to go in her pants, and then she'll go. And we tell her, there's time to take breaks. It's time to, take a nap, or it's time to do this, or time to do that. Life's not all about just play. It's good that she wants to play, but not everybody. And I know, so some of those, friends that we have in the community, they know, they've seen it. She is nonstop. And we understand, and their kids understand. And even folks in the family, they understand. They've seen it. And it is who she is. It's not going to change anytime soon. We would like her to slow down a little bit, but really the only way to do that is to heavily medicate her, and we're not going to do that either. She takes the medications that she needs to be able to, kind of help with her seizures and stuff like that, because she is prone to seizures. So medications helps with that, and that's about it. So, there is the stuff that kind of helps with the ADHD, because if she wasn't on her medication for, the ADHD stuff, then she would really be off the walls. So she's already, calmed down a little bit because of that, but still, it's from the moment she wakes up, and well, except for on early mornings, because we'll wake up, and sometimes she'll be like, "I'm still tired," because she wants to be able to sleep until she's no longer tired, and that's not going to happen because we got stuff to do. And so sometimes she'll be like, "Nope, I just want to sleep." But when she's done sleeping, it's 0 to 100% like that. All right, so story time. I've ever since I've started this channel, I've said that I wanted to do stories, right? Like Navy stories, I guess. And if anybody, that was in the service, it doesn't even necessarily have to be the Navy. It could be, the Army. It could be the Air Force. It could be any of the branches of service. If you have a story that you would like me to share, then you need to email me. And, all the emails and stuff are like in our about page and all that stuff. It's really easy. Ivy, is it ivy.family.factotum@gmail. And yeah, just email me those stories and I'll share it out. But this story is actually one of my experiences that I had. And it was on my first command. My first ship, I should say. Because first commands and stuff like that, those are all, you go to boot camp, then you go to school, and then yada yada. So I didn't even get to a ship. Like, I was already in the Navy almost 2 years before I even got to a ship. So between boot camp and school and all that. So my first ship, it was actually on deployment whenever I met the ship. And this was before 9/11. So, it was a lot more lax. A lot of things like that. That, from what I understand, it was basically a pleasure cruise. The longest we were underway would be like 4 days, and we'd hit a port. So, the ship was gone. I don't even think it was gone a full 6 months. So it was less than 6 months. I want to say it was only 5. It might have been 6 months, but I only caught 2 months. Basically the last 2 months of the deployment, which stinks because it's not long enough for a sea service ribbon. You have to have at least 3 months to get sea service, and it's 90 days. So I had missed the cutoff for that. Actually, I had missed the cutoff for that ribbon by like 2 weeks, which kind of stinks. But anyway, I had checked on board and all that, and I'll get to like some of the stories and stuff like that of what I did before getting to that command, because that was kind of fun. But on the ship, so it wasn't necessarily that first deployment, but I want to say it was the second deployment we went on. We had hit a really horrible storm. I'm pretty sure it was an actual hurricane that we had went through. It's either a hurricane or it's a really, really, really bad nor'eastern. So, and the ship was taking heavy enough rolls that they had to put shoring up on the bulkheads. So if you don't know what that is, well, first off, a bulkhead is a wall. Okay, so the ship that I was on too is USS Austin LPD-4. So it's a landing platform dock. It's an amphibious ship used to carry Marines, and it's designed to sink. Not like submarine, but just the back end of the ship. So it has like a well deck, right? And it's designed to go down to allow water to come into the back of the ship. That way the amphibious vehicles that the Marines own, right? Because we pull in close to the beach to where they take all their amphibious vehicles out of the back of the ship and take it to shore. Now, with having a boat that's designed to do that, it has to be a flat bottom, right? Because you have to be able to get in close to shore, and you have to have a very shallow draft. So a flat bottom boat in the middle of the ocean in a very heavy sea like that, it rocks a lot. I know some of those smaller guys, like the smaller frigates and stuff like that, or even the guys in the cruisers and destroyers, they're like, oh, our boats rock a lot too because they're V-hulled and blah blah blah. Well, I've never had the opportunity to go on one of those ships, and I'm pretty sure a lot of other individuals never had the opportunity to go to a gator with a flat bottom. So, it's kind of I'm comparing apples to oranges, I guess, but I know what I know, and I know that boat rocks a lot. I never got seasick, but a lot of people did. So anyway, the boat was taking so much like heavy rolls that they had to put up shoring, which is either blocks of wood, like long timbers, or it'd actually be like a metal pole that they would have to is used for bracing, right? Because bulkheads that we had were actually starting to buckle and bend, right? Because the ship was bending because it was rocking so much. And during that storm, right, the weather decks, so that's outside of the ship, anything that's out to the weather, was secured. You're not allowed to go out there. Well, I was a fire controlman, which was a weapons person. Okay, I was defensive weapons. And the weapon that I worked on was CWIS, which is a close-in weapon system. And it's used for anti-missile defense. Well, our shop and our system, the forward, because we had two, a forward system and an aft system. And both of our shops, the only way you can get to the shop was to go out to the weather deck. Well, we had a system, like our cooling system for our weapon system was salt water that would pull up the salt water from the ocean. It'd go through a strainer basket, blah, 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 get out any materials. And then it would go through pressure reducers and all those different things, from the fire main. And it would put it through into our system to keep the system cool, right? Well, all of that saltwater based system for that was in our shop. Yes, there was like deck drains and there was stuff like that to where if you ever had a leak, right, that water would be able to get out. Well, if for whatever reason that that drain got clogged, like a rag or anything that's in the shop's gonna start flooding, right? Well, lo and behold, guess what? We ended up springing a leak into that system, and it just started spraying water right into our tools. And this has actually happened in both of our shops. Not that same day, but we ended up having, so we had to go outside to get into the shop and fix that. Well, the problem with that, right, is when you're going in really heavy seas, the ship's going over a wave, almost through a wave, over a wave, right? So it's going up and down like this, but it's also rocking like that, and you'll have waves crashing up and over the front of the ship. So where our shop was, basically, you have the very front of the boat, right? The V part is the forecastle, and then from the forecastle, the next deck up to where we were was called the forward gun deck. Well, the forward gun deck is where our gun sat, and then on that, basically the front bulkhead that was there with our shop, and then we had basically the only access. So on the port side of the ship, left side, is kind of like the driver's side of a car, right? That's your port side. The right side is the starboard side. So on the port side was our shop. On the starboard side was like our magazine, right, where we would store stuff. And to go in, the door had actually opened. Basically, you would hold it and you would pull it this way, so it would open towards the port side. Well, we had rain and waves and wind and everything coming from starboard to port, right? So as the wind was coming across, as you open a door, the wind would catch the door and would want to sling it open. And those big, heavy metal doors, right? If wind catches it hard enough and it's moving. You're not stopping it. So I was like, oh, great, lovely. So as we're going up there, right, one of my shipmates was already up there forward, and I have other stories. He's got plenty of stories that he loves to tell, but he was already up there. Well, as I was going up there, I grabbed the door. Well, let's put it this way. Up on the deck, right, you have strips of non-skid that you're supposed to walk on. That way you're not slipping because the deck is wet and such with salt water. And you step on just a painted deck with no non-skid, it is very slick, like snot. And that's why a lot of the ships had changed to where they covered the entire deck with a non-skid material. That way you don't have that. Well, we didn't have that at the time. We only had strips that were 2 feet wide to walk on. Everything else was painted, right? Well, whenever I grabbed that door to open it, basically a wave and a gust of wind came through, slung the door open. My hand had got caught into the handle a little bit. It flung me off of that non-skid as I stepped. The door was taking the upper part of my body. A wave was taking the lower part of my body, and basically both my feet went whoop out from underneath me. Now I'm horizontal, being flung by the door towards the port side of the ship. Ford said that all he could see was 2 feet go past the door, right? And I hit the deck and I start sliding towards the side of the ship. Okay, well, the side of the ship, right where I was going, it had kind of like a metal barrier that came down. It's like curved. That was solid bulkhead on the side of the ship. But then we had around the weapon system like a wall, like a little half wall that was solid metal. And then in between that wall and that curved part of the ship, and now I'm going to have to splice this together because my phone only records for 19 minutes, and I don't know why. Anyway, like I said, where that bulkhead, that half bulkhead is, and that other one comes down at an angle, there's railings. Well, there's supposed to be 3 rails, that are all spaced a certain amount apart, going for safety reasons. Right? Well, at that part of the ship, we only had 2 rails, and then it had a big open spot down at the bottom because the bulkhead that was coming down from the main part of the ship was kind of like curved, right? And where that came through, it left a big enough gap to where you can fit someone through there. Well, that's exactly where I was going. So the door had flung me, the wave was taking me, and I was going through that hole of the railings, basically over the side of the ship. And where we were at, it was at least 40 something feet up off the water and towards the front of the ship, to where now if I was to go overboard, right, you're also dealing with the waves from the ship, dealing with the waves outside, dealing with all, right? I would have not been seen. Let's just put it that way. So as I was going overboard, I ended up putting my arm up. I don't know how, instinct or what, but I was on my right side and I was sliding and I put my arm up and I hooked that second railing and it stopped me. And I was about, up to my hip over the side of the ship whenever I had hooked that before going overboard. And I pulled myself back in and I get up and I'm trying to still fight the wind and the water and it's raining. It's doing all those things, right? And I get up, I get into the shop and Ford, he'd already taken care of the issues and stuff that was inside the shop. And I get in there and I just white as a ghost. And I remember, him just laughing at me as I'm getting into the shop. He's like, dude, what happened? All I saw was your feet going by. And I told him, I was like, dude, I almost went over the side of the boat. He's like, what? And I told him basically, the whole events of what was going on. And yeah, that was a freaky moment that I almost went overboard on my first command. And yeah, so if that would have happened, I probably would not have survived, because there's no way that anybody would have seen me went over. I know that Ford was out there. Obviously, eventually he would have came outside and be like, hey, where did Ivy go? I don't know. Because he saw me going towards the side. All he saw was feet. Just two boots going. But yeah, there you go. That's my Navy story. One of my Navy stories where I almost died. And it was not fun. But all right, well, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna get this video up and out. I need to go do some shopping and then get back to the house and then back to the property and start getting some work done. But I definitely appreciate y'all. And if you've made it this far and you're not subscribed, we greatly appreciate that. Also, go check out our main channel if you've never been there. It'd be greatly appreciated. And remember, always thank a veteran at every chance you get. Not only on Veterans Day, and we'll see you on the next one. All right, y'all. Bye-bye now.